Today, a video for people who have been hearing about cryptos, maybe don't know so much, wondering if it's too late or how one would even go about getting started with that.
The land of Arcadia.
Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you with Arcadia Economics on Thursday, May 31st. And today, a video for people who have been hearing about cryptos, maybe don't know so much, wondering if it's too late or how one would even go about getting started with that. So fortunately, I have a good friend of mine, Josh Loun, here with us today, who will tell us a little about his story. He was a bit new to the cryptos, got more involved last year, but has really learned a lot in a short period of time. And you can correct me if I'm not right here, Josh, although I would say in many ways for you, it's been life-changing, not even as much the financial part, but it's been really exciting watching your passion and the inspiration you're getting and seeing, even aside from the financial, that there are exciting things going on. So anyway, here's Josh Loun, and any thoughts to get us started there?
Well, I don't come from money, so this isn't about money. I mean, if I Lambo or something dumb like that, that would be sweet. But since talking with you, seeing how involved you were in it, and I've played music with you and such, that kind of tipped my curiosity as to why someone would be as involved in it as you. And probably going to jump around a little bit here, but basically what I really like about crypto and why I got involved was your talk of decentralization from the Federal Reserve and, getting our government straight and, us having financial independence. And
right.
I really feel that whatever is going on in the United States right now is by design and not by some kind of fluke. So therefore, we've, like Cliff High says, we've gone up and we've evolved around their flukes. So we're gonna, this is going. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. Just because our coins are kind of low right now, that doesn't mean anything. My bank account's been low my whole life, but you keep going and you keep, you gotta stick through the trenches to get, to the treasure. There's no, you gotta hold. I know you're one of the biggest holders on the planet, hodler or whatever. So, and I do a little bit of trading.
I like that idea. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I know you're
there yet.
Litecoin and you got into the Ethereum really early, and that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I got into it about maybe 6 months ago. You guys came over at a band rehearsal and were like, hey, check out my Coinbase account. And you guys were talking in some kind of alien language. And then I was like, what is going on here?
Right.
And then I put a couple $100 into Litecoin when it was $99, when Bitcoin was at like 19,000 or something. And then, Jason was like, hey, Ripple, you got to get into Ripple, man. And so I went into down the rabbit hole and learned about Binance and transferring from addresses from, GDAX, because there's no fees from GDAX to go to Binance or any of the other ones, So, you really, it's a really, hard path for those. It's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
But there's something to this. Yeah, there's big.
Yeah, well, you touched on something that I don't know if I mentioned to you back then, although I should have, but just the value of, people don't have to go out, throw their entire life savings in it. But I remember as I was going through the process, even if you buy $1 of Bitcoin or Litecoin or something, I felt like there's a lot that happens just as you learn to use that. It naturally brings people's curiosity, and you begin learning more and seeing why there is the excitement and why these things are working, which seems kind of like exactly what you did.
Yeah, yeah. And so, you recommended Cliff High, and, I've listened to you, and I got rid of my Ripple and started studying, different coins and, progressions. And, part of me thinks that, if I invest in a smaller coin, the chances of it going big with the little bit of money I have is greater than, tagging onto the Litecoin or a Dash or something that's already made it, kind of. So I'm trying to really find something that was, something I could start with the ground up and be part of the community, and, that feeling of that. And, so I researched and I found that, Verge is one of those coins that is working its way into being not only just a community coin and something to invest in, but it's actually being used, and it's a utilitarian coin. Whereas, who cares about the ethics of pornography? People are using cryptocurrencies from their wallets to an actual thing. It's being used in a real case scenario, and that's very exciting. And Cliff High says, one of these or a couple of these are going to act as like the AT&T of the 1950s. And that's exactly what that is. A lot of these coins that serve utilitarian purposes, like Blue Zell, Litecoin, Ethereum, they're very utilitarian. You can build on them, on their networks. That's amazing. Then we have never been here before. No one knows what's going on. And so, I'm going to go with my heart and, run with the Verge train, because they're working really hard. There's nothing wrong with the coin. It gets hacked just like every other coin. That means it's a real coin. It made it.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about it a little bit the other day. One thing that I found interesting with Verge, and for people who don't know, it appears one of their biggest applications is with Pornhub. So again, leaving aside opinions of whether people like or want to support porn or not, just from a trading standpoint, it's interesting to think about, because there has been a lot of backlash, and some of the analysts saying, well, it's a porn coin, they want to steer clear. Yet when you think to the degree that, okay, that is a component, yet also if the coin is being used and there is a business model that's functional, if the numbers are what they are and people are changing their trading decisions based on a factor, could leave it to be undervalued if the actual market is going to use it, even if other people don't like that market.
Yeah, we're not selling Bibles here. We're trying to set up currencies for the future people to use, and also, some of us are gonna, traders and investors and people who study and take this seriously, are probably gonna make some money. And that's a good thing. It's not bad to be rich. What is bad is what you do with that money, and the corporations and the weird stuff that you get in the government with big money. And that's why we have cryptocurrency now, is because it's an evolution of currency. And, at first I didn't want to admit it. I felt weird. It was weird, like strange, when I got a cell phone, I didn't text for like years. I was like, you have to call me. You have to call me. And, finally I'm sitting here, I text everyone now, so it's a matter of time. And as an investment, patience will pay off in many of these coins. And just happens to be, Verge is one that I identify with. Yeah. It's kind of it's a quirky coin. It's frictiony. There's a lot of friction over it. And if you listen to what Cliff High actually says, not just the coins that he shoots out, but what his words, Verge is one of those coins that fits his mold. So that's how I feel about that. And, his bots may not predict the, right on the point of whatever, but the philosophy of it. Not who cares about the money. Let's talk about the philosophy and the morals of this stuff. That's where, you know, I kind of lie.
Yeah, which is why, you know, certainly it can be a tricky environment. We saw Bitcoin go from 6,000 to 20,000 back to 6,000 in a short period of time. So maybe the answer is somewhere inside or outside of that range, yet at that same time, very little has actually changed. So kind of along what you were getting at, where there is the pricing, yet the reason I've felt as comfortable as I have is that if the currency systems have problems and there's a lot of money that's going to have to go somewhere, you know, again, if someone wants to debate individual coins or whether the technology is valid, I think that's a great thing to do and learn from. Yet if it is, then it really comes down to, if we need a currency system and you continue to see the actual adoption of the cryptos, to me is seeming like, you know, the big next step, which especially with Litecoin is interesting, how Charlie Lee, from what I've seen, is actively marketing the coin, and whether it ends up in Starbucks or Amazon, we'll see.
I think that's a wise thing, especially for decentralization, movement away from control of, you know, because that's how they're control. I believe that's how whatever entity is at hand kind of, you know, makes management systems easy to control us. And I believe that happens through currency, manipulation of currency. You think people want to be poor or want to, you know, not be able to go to the dentist? You know, it's funny today, I went to the dentist today because I'm finally poor enough to get Medicaid for my teeth, that I can actually, as opposed to working for it and receiving this, like, you know, you get healthcare for working in our system and, you know, participating. You have to actually be poor enough in the richest nation ever to get any kind of health or dental or anything. It's a very sad time. It's
interesting. I'm actually listening to an audio set right now that goes into a bunch of just the ways that I don't personally believe are by accident, that incentivize certain things that are not designed to empower people. And, you know, where I'm a big believer that our mindset has a lot to do with it. And a lot of people grow up thinking, hey, this is just where I am. I'm not going to be the guy with money or gets to have the house that he wants or the life that he wants, which I think is often artificially engineered. Yet again, that's what is one of the things so exciting about the cryptos, where, I mean, if you look at the dollar, it's lost 99% of its value. So you can make the argument we're really getting 1 penny out of every dollar you earn. And here, if you remove that ability to essentially stealth tax via inflation, I mean, imagine if everyone was even getting 10% of what they earn. So imagine if everyone just took their salary, multiply it by 10, just because the banks aren't and the governments aren't taking that through inflation, which to me is the answer of when people say, all right, Bitcoin, Litecoin, I don't get it. There's nothing there. It's just code. But, you know, it's like putting a lock on your door, you know, it protects. So you keep.
Isn't it just it's pretty much a digital ledger system to keep track of how many units I owe you for the soda you bought me while we were hanging out or something like that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think it's scary to them. Whoever that is, I think it's frightening, and they don't know what to do. And they're trying to get ahead of the curve, like Cliff said, and they failed. They didn't get Hillary in. So I think we're at a time of, you know, unknowing. And I think that's great for opportunity.
Yeah.
It's like when you don't know where we're at, this is a great time for growth and change and for the right people to really apply themselves and to get in positions of power to benefit the whole of humanity, as opposed to like this big boys club that who knows what they do, man. That's some weird stuff that I hear. Weird, just weird. Go to a different planet and do that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, again, that's why it was really exciting for me to watch as you kept learning. And perhaps as we wrap up here, if you have any thoughts for others where, again, I think it is an incredible opportunity. And it's not the easiest thing to grasp. And you now have an advantage that, you know, when the next wave of the crowd comes in, it's not like a file you can download and say, all right, I know everything now, where, you know, I think you've given yourself an incredible learning advantage that you can probably employ in a variety of ways. So if there are folks out there that are thinking about just getting started, anything you can share that you've picked up or might suggest to someone else that can help them reach the
power of currency and the importance of currency to each individual, and that what that means to like our democratic structure in this federation. You know, like it's money is power when we live in a capitalistic society, and right now we don't have much power and we don't have much say, and I think we can take that back in a, as they say, you know, there's many sorts of revolutions, and you know, in music's one of them. All of a sudden, you know, it's a very peaceful thing. People think a different way. I think Bitcoin, and I'm going to say just Bitcoin, because all the other coins fall under that, is probably the biggest bloodless revolution to ever hit the planet.
I've thought a lot about that. And perhaps, I'm not sure, are you familiar with, there's that famous quote from one of the Rothschilds that gets to what you were speaking about, where it said, give me the control of the currency, and it doesn't really matter who's the government, because, you know, you can do a lot with that.
I mean, come on, our government would be, you know, in the 80s, it used to run, you could tell it was running. You could tell it was a little more functioning than it is now for the people. It wasn't hard. It was healthcare. You didn't really hear about like all this stuff. And now it's like, oh, you know, it's kind of like the junkie dad that can't afford to pay for his kids, and he's out on some kind of habit. That's what this government or whoever's and has the power, that's what it's like. They have an addiction to money, and they're leaving their children or the masses behind in the dust. And this is where a lot of our issues come from. A lot of crime, a lot of disease, a lot of everything. I mean, you can umbrella it from that. I mean, you lead by example. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Which is why, obviously, the financial part's exciting, although to me, what offers great hope is that on one hand, you know, I don't want to sit here and cheer that the stock or the bond market's plummeting.
No,
to the degree that I think it's going to lead to something better and more natural of what I understand life was designed to be. And I think you summed it up quite nicely, saying that it is a form of a peaceful revolution, which is exciting to be a part of.
I feel, because, man, you know, I see these protests, you know, Wall Street and all that stuff. And, you know, I've always stayed at home. I feel the same way. But now there's a chance, and all I have to do is go to my phone, go blink, 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 and I just revolted. Bam.
Yep.
And
Josh,
you know what? I feel good, because, you know, I may never Lambo in some of the coins I'm in or whatever. You know, that's not why I'm on Earth. I think we should. I think we take a lot of things for granted, especially maybe, you know, some of the financial sector. Man, imagine how they could make their money work. Those people still on Wall Street and still on the fiat. Man, imagine how powerful they could be in this new world, and how much more, you know, fun it could be for that.
I think there's a lot of good things coming on the other side of the dollar. And Josh, if anyone would like to contact you, find out more about your experience or anything else, is there a way to reach you?
Joshua Loun at gmail.com. Loun is my last name.
All right. Well, again, thanks for coming on the show today. It's been a lot of fun just talking with you about the cryptos, seeing you learn and seeing you get excited. And I think that's going to serve you really well.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, this is great. Seeing all the people, quirky people on Twitter and their takes on it, all the new comedy that gets to come out of it. Cool. This is a great world. We should embrace it, you know. And thank you for taking the time to interview me. Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, my friend. Go Litecoin, and we will see you again soon. Thanks for being on the show.
All right.
And thanks for watching.
All right. Peace be with you, man.